Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to I was about to say Heart's Fine, dang it. The New Campaign Trail. Now, last time we hopped in to 1948 Identity, where we played as Henry Wallace, and despite a really, really rough competition from both Robert Taft and Strom Thurmond, we ended up pulling up a victory. It took us like 3 attempts, but we got it. Now we're going to play a bit more of a more low-key mod, but I think it's a pretty fun one. This is 1988 Biden. For those of you who don't know, our current president is Joe Biden. Big shock, I know. Originally, Biden ran in 1988. That was the first time he ever ran for president. He ran in 88, 08, and 2020. He won in 2020 because third time's a charm. But this is an examination if he got the nomination in 1988. Punish Joe's in the house. Indeed, Kev. Indeed. A obligatory shout out to Twitch. If you're not already following these, but you like these new campaign trails, follow that. And we'd usually go ahead and... It's usually where we play. New campaign trail. But we're going to click here to begin. Nothing's been more emblematic of the final year of the Reagan presidency than the energetic campaign to succeed him. His own party was sent to flurry, choosing Vice President George H.W. Bush by a far narrower margin than either Bush or Reagan would have liked. Despite Reagan's once illustrious reputation, scandals have left many thinking a change of course is needed. After primary scandals and controversy, Delaware Senator Joe Biden has come out on top to win the Democratic nomination. As a selling point of his campaign, Biden's declared war on malarkey. Claims that he's the only one who will finally get results for the people. America seems ready to move on from Reagan era, but who will be its successor? Scenario was made by Neo Intinu for the writing, rubrics for coding, MA for Stockdale for some of it, Night Wolf, and these guys for the excellent art for this pretty cool mod. I've played a few times, it's fun. So they might have had a George Bush side, I want to say, but we're going to be playing as Joe Biden. Because of course we are. It's named after... The mod's named after the man. Democrat from the state of Delaware. It actually said declared war on malarkey. It did. Born in the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. has been a national name in politics for 16 years. After his massive upset against incumbent Senator Caleb Boggs back in 1972, Biden miraculously became a senator at only age 30. However, tragedy struck soon afterwards, with a fatal incident killing his wife, Nelia, as well as his infant daughter. In the Senate, he's been known as a moderate, bipartisan Democrat focusing on crime, having been a key player in the passage of 1984 Comprehensive Crime Bill. Further, he famously fought the Reagan administration over sanctions against the apartheid state of South Africa. Biden also presided against the Supreme Court confirmation hearing of Robert Bork last year. Biden was widely viewed as the key of a successful movement to block Bork's nomination. With his uncanny ability to get a crowd excited and his infallible will to bring Democrats together, perhaps he can be the one to bring a new era in American politics. So we got a couple options. We're going to be going with Sam Nunn. I've had some decent success with Nunn before. Samuel Augustus Nunn Jr. is a senator from Georgia, where he has once voted as a moderate to conservative Democrat with a large bipartisan streak. He voted in favor of school prayer and other conservative topics, one of the policies that made him truly stand out is his stern opposition to nuclear weapons, working to further dismantle them for years. While on many of his religious and fiscal topics he's shown a more right-leaning stance, he is liberal on abortion and environmental and gun control issues. He's also very pro-immigration. He has been considered a potential presidential candidate for years and would certainly make a good geographical balance between Biden and himself. Perhaps he'd shift your policies, you could even win Georgia, maybe more. Just be careful not to shift too much negative liberals. Yeah, sad story of his early life. Joe Biden lost his daughter and his wife very early on in his career. So here's the look of the map initially. We have a lead at the start. But Dukakis, who was actually the guy who got the nomination in 88, had a lead at the start as well, and it didn't work out for him. So we can't take anything for granted. Our main issues are economics, defense, social issues, crime and drugs, and trade. June 1987. At the Wilmington train station, you decided to announce your run for the 1980 presidential election. What theme do you want your campaign to hold? This guy's like the anti-2020 American politics of politicians. Holy shit, yeah. The Cold War, let's do building forward together. The Cold War is coming to an end, and the next president will be the one to deal with diplomacy between the West and the now open East. I've been laser focused on international affairs as a senator. If elected, I will keep NATO strong while still holding out our hands to the old adversaries to make a better world. This good opener, which should give you a large amount of credibility among independents and moderates who don't really have a good horse in the race right now. September 12, 1987, the New York Times and the Des Moines Register have both released articles accusing you of plagiarizing a speech by British Labour leader Neil Kinnock about generational differences. This has caused you to plummet in the polls, and many fear you're in danger of falling behind Dukakis and Gephardt. How will you respond? Look, folks, with all due respect, this is a load of malarkey. I understand the concern, but if you look at my past speeches, every time I've used this line, I've credited Mr. Kinnock. I'm only human. I've accidentally forgotten to say something once or twice, but I'm confident this is edited. I don't know by who, but rest assured we will find out. None of this is a real radical centrist. True. Is that a 2010 reference? Well, at first, if it seriously hurts you, it isn't the end at all, and only around a month later, it comes out that Dukakis' aides, including his chief of staff, John Sasso, were the ones who recorded and released the video. Despite everything, this may actually propel you further. I'll go to South Dakota. After a long and hard fight, your final two opponents, Dick Gephardt and Jesse Jackson, have dropped out of the primary after making you the de facto Democratic nominee. What will your acceptance speech at the DNC be at the DNC in Atlanta? I'm incredibly proud to be the nominee for the Democratic Party, now in the same league as Roosevelt, Truman, Kennedy, and Johnson. I want to use this as a chance to unite the party after such a tough primary, looking back at our history and forward to our future. As a party from the people, from rural Montana to New York City, we all have common ideals and policies that built this country in the first place, and we must use them to walk forward together. Trust me, move to talk far more about the Democrats rather than attacking Bush or Reagan, although positivity is always good, I suppose. Chose Senator Sam Nunn as your running mate. Why did you choose him, and why do you believe he's equipped for the difficulties of vice presidency? There are very few people so capable of working together across the aisle as Senator Nunn can. Obviously, I understand some folks don't like him being here on account of some of his more conservative policies, but I promise you we've worked out a fair agenda for all Americans. Some of our liberal base is concerned about what you've compromised with Nunn, but regardless, he certainly has rocked polling in Georgia, as well as the remainder of the South. Georgia's pretty close. I think we could potentially win Alabama, depending on how well we handle things. But I'll head to Montana. As such a divisive primary that exacerbates differences in the wings of the party, how do you plan to bring supporters of Jackson, Dukakis, and Gore into the fold? Look, I get it. You support your guy like hell only for him to not reach the finish line. I promise you, we're going to bring everyone to the fold. As evidenced by my running mate, this campaign cares about the opinions of all Democrats, from the conservative wing to the liberal wing. Your voices will be heard. It's a good attempt at getting your rivals to begrudgingly accept their loss and unite against George Bush. For nearly 8 years now, America has been under Reaganomics. You, as well as most Democrats, have been a consistent critic of this policy. What is your specific opinion of his current economic policy? What would you change as president? Under Reagan and Bush, your wages have fallen to pathetic levels. If we keep this path, the middle class will collapse completely because of these economic policies. We need an administration that isn't afraid to reach out for the common cause of the people. This is really good and will help reinforce your numbers in the plains and the big urban cities. There we go. I'll head over to California, cover our asses there. After GOP finishes their convention in New Orleans, Vice President Bush has unsurprisingly become the nominee. However, the choice of Indiana Senator Dan Quayle for the Republican vice presidential nominee was shocking. How will he attack this choice? I want to personally thank the vice president for picking the best running mate to absolutely destroy with attack ads. I seriously can't believe they found someone more gaffe-prone than me. The attacks roll out showing Quayle's greatest gaffes. Sure, maybe hypocritical, but they worked like a charm. The Bush campaign is wounded. In advance of the upcoming presidential debates, what region of the United States do you want to visit next week? Some people will guess my intentions when I pick Senator Nunn as my running mate, but we're heading to Dixie. We're going to win everything from Georgia to Texas, while also keeping the Midwest, basically making it impossible for Bush to win. I have to say I respect your guts for doing this. It might make for a good story if this plays out right, but this is a path that everyone has warned you is dangerous. Well, we got this. Well, Joe, the first 1988 presidential debate is upon us. A lot could be riding your performance here tonight, so how are you feeling? We're going to get out there and show HW what for. There we go. Didn't have to depend on RNG. Luck. By God, you've gone and completely trounced the VP. Over 7% of the viewers are calling you the winner of this debate. This has been a major boost for your campaign. Wonderful. Recently, members of the liberal wing of the Democratic Party have criticized you for your support of the 1983 invasion of Grenada, with some saying that on foreign policy you're the same as Reagan and Bush. How will you respond? This was all 5 years ago. Who the hell cares? I admit that I thought it was reasonable. Were there certain aspects I thought were off? Yes, but I don't regret my personal opinion back then. No matter what you say, it wouldn't be enough for many people. Perhaps this is the best we're going to get, even if some do call you a flip-flopper. Well, we'll flop our way all the way to the bank at this rate, because we are crushing on the electoral college. I'll do North Carolina. As the general election starts to really heat up, how much will he balance attacking the Bush campaign and more positive ads to promote your candidacy? Just run ads comparing me and George Bush. These people will see that he's had it easy since day one, while I started from the bottom, lived through my family losing everything they had. Now I still made it here. These ads play well while Lee Atwater, the Bush campaign, run advertisements on your plagiarism scandal that seemed to be worn off a bit. Both Michigan and Ohio are likely key states to a Biden win come November, and their vote will most likely overwhelmingly come down to trade policy. Been fairly moderate on trade since the start of the campaign, so what message will you push to the voters in these states? Let's keep the middle ground here, between all the stock protectionism and free trade. You know what I like? Fair trade. Both sides meet their obligations and everyone feels better in the end. An obvious balancing act, probably the best one given you need to win states from all over the country. The only people truly excited about this answer are hardcore moderates. So we're winning the radical centrist vote, much like none right about now. We'll visit Montana. Bush campaign has repeatedly called you a liberal in advertisements and speeches, using it as a dirty word against your record. How are you going to respond to this? Liberal this, conservative that. I don't really give a damn, folks. I entered this race as someone who could bring people together like Jesse Jackson and Sam Nunn into one campaign. I'm not here to be president of the Democrats or president of Republicans. I'm here to be president of the United States. The two-party system is more unpopular than ever, so this appeal, while corny to some, does actually hit a note with most independents who otherwise wouldn't have voted. Some of the liberal wing is pissed you won't defend them, though. Rad sent Biden. True. October 1st, 1988. Your campaign has received an invitation to the vice presidential debate between Dick Gephardt and Dan Quayle, except for the 5th. Will you accept this invitation? I don't think it's supposed to say Dick Gephardt there, but that's okay. Dan Quayle's a competent fool. I'm sure Sam will kick him right back to Indiana. Nunn and Quayle exchanged gabs at each other, and in the end, most people just didn't care about the debate. Didn't help us, but didn't hurt us either. We'll go Georgia. Recently, Bush is accused of being opportunistic with courting black voters due to the fact that he opposed busing back in the 70s. What do you have to say in response to his claim? This is a distortion of the truth. I only opposed busing because then it was going to be used against de facto segregation, while I supported against de jure segregation. This is another example of the Bush campaign using dirty tricks on me. This is the best you can do in this your tricky situation. Black voters are satisfied. You haven't pissed off anyone. The attack ads will still hurt you a bit, though. More recently in the campaign, there's been a storm of talk about the abortion issue and if abortion should be federally funded. Senator Biden, what do you think? You know, these are things that women have every right to decide for themselves. And regardless of where you stand on the issue, if we don't federally support the practice, all we'll do is force these women into far more dangerous conditions. This is fairly forward thinking for the time, and with most Americans firmly in the middle of the abortion issue, this could help sway many moderates. Conservatives will be angry, though, so be careful. How we doing? We're still doing well. We might pull through in North Carolina, so I'll send a visit there just in case. Since the late 70s, the upper Midwest has been developing major farm crises that many have felt the Reagan administration has failed to relieve. What would a Biden administration do to aid these farmers? Simply giving an answer is enough. Let's put legislation right in the smack dab middle of a Senate that will force the GOP to show farmers how much they care. Right after, we'll head to Iowa, South Dakota, Montana and speak to farmers' unions. How conservative are Dems at this point, really, though? It depends. Interesting, you work with a young senator from South Dakota, Tom Daschle, to send out the Biden-Daschle farm relief bill, and just like planned, it is brought down by Republicans, hurting them immensely. I mean, you have conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats at this time. You don't really see a complete end of conservative Democrats. Yeah, this map is crazy. Conservative Democrats as a major force don't fully fall through until the 90s or noughties. And even today, you have, like, Joe Manchin is a pretty conservative Democrat. We'll do, Once again, the plagiarism scandal has been brought to national attention as new accusations from the Bush campaign claim not only you've plagiarized speeches, but you've lied about your youth activism. Further, some have even gone as far to say you nearly failed college. How will you respond? Stanfields, you think that it would have decently not to blatantly lie like this? I'll go on live TV and completely squash this out once and for all. Senator, this went badly. You weren't anywhere near prepared and both broke down and lost your place several times during the speech, and even accidentally plagiarized JFK. This has gone exceedingly poorly. Shit. Well, there goes our nice lead, but we're still crushing in a lot of these places anyway. I'm not too worried. We'll go to California just to cover our asses. As always, gun control is a contentious issue nationwide, with the remaining Southern Democrats staunchly opposed. However, some have begun to favor gun control in light of rising crime rates. What position will your campaign take? We're not going to take your hunting weapons or handguns away, but we do need to prevent assault rifles being easily available at the corner store. This is common sense, folks. It's a good answer if you want to make gun control more digestible for the average American. The Iran-Contra affair is clouded and nearly destroyed the political capital of the Reagan administration in 1986, or largely faded, still a sore spot for George Bush. How will you invite him in this attack his involvement in the scandal? So you're telling me the president was saying one of the most heinous lies ever told to the American people, and the vice president didn't know? I think that says two things about this administration. That's the good old Biden charm right there. Both Bush and Reagan give separate yet equally embarrassed rebuttals that only leave you laughing. So I have 6 questions. I think we can fix this easy. I think so too. We'll do Montana. We reach the final presidential debate, and here's the first question. Senator Biden, if Joe Biden were raped and murdered, will you support the death penalty for the person who did it? Yes, Mr. Shah, I believe that in an instance like the one you pose, with situations like rape and murder, that the death penalty is a reasonable decision to hand down. I've always been a hard-on-crime politician, so perhaps this is no surprise that you've staked out a fairly out-of-line position for a Democrat. That doesn't mean liberals aren't angry, though. Holy fuck, what? That's a reference to 88. Michael Dukakis was asked that question, and Michael Dukakis was very, very against the death penalty, and he said no, he wouldn't support in that case. Which he stuck to his position, but still, that's a really shitty answer to give, depending on the question. So, that's a reference. It's just not out of the blue. Final presidential debate has ended, and given how catastrophic it was for Mondale and Carter, this could be a major turning point of the campaign. Personally, how do you think it will? It is a very shitty question, for real. Gav, ban the bot. Ban the bot. Despite the constant malarkey from the vice president, I feel like we won. Despite all the heated back and forth debate, neither of you seem to come out with a commanding win to be proud of. Okay. Let's send a visit over to Texas. Thank you, Kev. The election is drawing near, and as you campaign for California, you feel a headache coming on. Now, this isn't a headache. You remember all too well what this is. Shit. It seems the stress of election has finally caught up with you. You've suffered another brain aneurysm and forced to go into surgery again. Uh-oh. It's late October, and you finally recover enough to manage a campaign from your hospital bed. Bad news has come from recent polls, which shows many voters apprehensive about voting for you due to your health issues. How will you show people you can still lead? Get everyone from Michael Dukakis to Jimmy Carter on the phone. Tell them that no matter where they are or what they're doing to organize as many Democrats as they physically can within the next week and a half. I need the people to see that even from a hospital bed, I can still bring half the nation to the polls. The Grand March goes on until November, and even if you were aiming for those who are undecided, you've managed to hype up the Democrats at an unseen level since JFK. Look at that. Whew. Still looking really good for us. I'll do North Carolina. We could probably flip that. The end is near, Senator Biden. It's November 7th, 1988. Tomorrow will decide your place in the history books. With that in mind, how will you spend it? Look, I know you guys keep telling me it's idiotic, but I really do think that if we storm the South as much as possible, we will win, from North Carolina to Texas. That way, even if Bush wins, say, New Jersey and Ohio, we'll offset that with a win in Alabama. Pretty much everyone is questioning your logic right now. Not been wrong yet. Let's just hope this gambit pays off. I arrive, settle in, and wait for the results. However long it may take. Best of luck. Here we go, Jack. Now, we're old in already, and we're 10% complete. I know, this bit is great. 14% in, no states called. 16%, no states called. 18, wow. Whew. Almost a quarter of the way in, and no states have been called. There we go. Kentucky and Indiana are in. It's going to be a close one. Oklahoma's in, not a surprise there. Mass and Vermont are in. D.C., Virginia, South Carolina, New Hampshire. There we go. There's the blue landslide, baby. Whew. No luck in North Carolina. It's a bit of a shame. But that's alright. Got Tennessee. Got Iowa. We got Michigan. We got Texas, Colorado, and New Mexico, too. Got Louisiana. Hawaii we got. Alaska flopped over. That wasn't too close. I'm not surprised by that. We got California. Got the three big states. South Dakota we ended up not getting. But we got Montana. Didn't get Georgia. Though Georgia was close. And we got Connecticut. Though Connecticut was right on the money. Wow. No one can stop the Biden Express Center elected landslide. If you feel tears well up as you step on the platform to give a victory speech that part of you feared would never be of use. Your political journey began almost 16 years ago to this day. Same people who didn't know your name back then voted you in droves. Never been more proud of yourself. And you look over to Sam, you see he's on the verge of tears as well. If you're winning, you've become one of the youngest people elected president. It was quite a big victory. You've won states that haven't been won since LBJ back in '64. You feel the nation applaud you, and it's like the wind hitting your back and pushing you forward. You get calls from Bush and Reagan, but even more personally satisfying is that every person who ran for the primaries has also called and given you congratulations. In Congress, your coattails have been nearly decimated the GOP in every turn, giving you a large majority to pass any legislation you want or need. As always, many doubted you could win, but as always, they were all wrong. See closest states. Connecticut it's less than 100 votes right there. Wow. Arkansas was pretty tight too, actually. Montana, very close. Georgia, close. California was actually closer than I realized it was going to be. But that's okay. Historical results, we win 302 to 235. Interestingly enough. Now, instead of just ending things there, I figured, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's go Biden versus Bush. We're going to try to tank our campaign as hard as we can. Because there are some pretty funny options. Compare this 1988 to our time, like 1988. Yeah, we whooped it. We did well. We're going to go Joe Biden. And our running mate is going to be Gary Hart. Gary Hart is a former senator from Colorado who sought the Democratic nomination both in 84 and 88. He was campaign director for George McGovern in 72. In the Senate, he was considered the leader of Utah Democrats, who focused on the development of high-tech resources for the American economy. In 1986, he led talks with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev over arms control and human rights, bolstering his national presence even more. Unfortunately for Mr. Hart, he was hit with an infidelity scandal in late 1987 that completely crashed his campaign and immediately will make him a non-viable candidate. But starting off great. Oh, no McGoverning time. Nope. Let's do no malarkey. American people are tired of being lied to their government. Trust in the nation leadership is at all-time low. Now I'm here to give the people a chance to vote for someone they trust. I'm not here to give you prepared speeches that hit at polling like a corporate spokesman. I'm here to solve your problems. There's a good amount of distrust in government right now, especially in rural America. And in general, most Americans like the idea of renewed trust. It instantly surged in Iowa and New Hampshire polls, as well as the rest of the plains. New York Times and Des Moines Register both released articles accusing you of plagiarizing speech by British Labour leader Neil Kinnock about generational differences. How will you respond?
Plagiarism is based, Jack.
You've been taken off all your committees, and every major Democrat has condemned you. Was it worth it? Oh, boy. This is where my Discord bio came from. We're going to Oklahoma. I think we can win things in Oklahoma. We'll go on the attack on Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, so you completely degrade the office to its lowest form. Go on the attack might help bury Bush's numbers further, but you spend much of the primary portraying yourself as a uniting voice for all sides. This is certainly not unite a single soul for anyone, except Bush. Chosen Senator Gary Hart as your running mate. Why did you choose him, and why do you believe he's equipped for the difficulties of vice president? Gary Hart fought like hell in the 84 primary, when much like me, he was a complete unknown when he decided to run. America needs the next generation to take up the leadership role, and a Biden Hart ticket is just that. Yeah, all nice, but it doesn't stop the fact that Gary Hart's whole campaign burned out because he cheated on his wife. mean, when you put it like that, it sounds like a horrible decision. I'm telling you. You know what? I'm thinking Idaho. Let's go Idaho. After such a divisive primary that exacerbated differences in wings of party, how do you plan to bring supporters of Jackson, Dukakis, and Gore back into the fold?
Look fat.
This is our campaign. The fact that we won by a decently large margin by the end means that we shouldn't have to concede things for the people who didn't do as well. When you lose, you lose. And that's something those guys have to realize. Spent your whole time campaigning some bipartisan godsend for the independents and moderates, and now you prove yourself by giving them the finger? Better hope those moderate Republicans fall in love with you. This is the kind of election prediction Red Eagle politics would come up with. This is looking like Tim Pool's wet dream. 49 state landslide. Alright. America's been under Reaganomics. What's your specific opinion of the current economic policy, and what would you change as president? Despite what some may say, we actually support Reaganomics, although I'd probably rename it Bidenomics, truthfully. It's been very good for the economy, so yeah, sure, I'd keep it. Jesus fuck. Fair enough. We're still holding on to Minnesota and Mass. I know this is great. Let's go to Utah. See if we can get the Salt Lake City vote out for us. Who gives a crap about Dan Quayle? Your campaign team is dumbfounded. It's not the end of the world, but why would you not take the easiest attack at of your life? In the advance of the upcoming presidential debates, which region of the U.S. do you want to visit next week? You know, if the Dixie strategy worked so well for us last time, let's do it now. Okay, so right now we have 20 electoral votes. We're barely holding on even in D.C. Let's try to undermine Quayle. Listen, both President Carter and Vice President Mondale lost because of debates. I'm not going to commit political suicide for some airtime. While many Democratic leaders take a sigh of relief after the last few elections, it doesn't stop the allegations that you fear debate with VP. You take a hard hit in the polls, but at least it's better than if you probably lost. Still somehow doing better than Dukakis. Give me a second. Just give me a second. Recently, members of the liberal wing of the Democrat Party criticized you for your support of the 1983 invasion of Grenada, with some saying that on foreign policy, that you're the same as Reagan and Bush. How will you respond? Look, I'm getting the feeling that no matter what I say, it won't be good enough for everyone. So hear me out. Me, a tank, and a good photographer. Look, Joe, last time we gave you a tank, we had to perform a giant cover-up, so... No. Damn it. Literal Dukakis moment. As the election starts to truly heat up, how would you like to... Well, let's focus on the meat of the issues. Odd choice, but sure, the people do seem to agree with you on many issues, and this seems to be an election about the future. But there's more to be gained about if you talk about your background. What message will you push to the voters in these states about trade? Do I go for look fat, or do I go with flip-flopping? I'll go for look fat. Look fat. We're going to free that market so hard you won't even be able to recognize it. I want increased trade with everyone from Canada to the Chinese. I don't give a damn about the Midwest. We'll make up for it by thriving everywhere else. Huh? We only have DC. Let's see. I want to run a campaign like this. It'd be fun. What are we gonna? How do we tank this? Just deflect, deflect, deflect. As you've learned the hard way, simply looking away from something doesn't make it disappear. Campaign has received an invitation, vice presidential between Gephardt and Quayle. Look, Jack, I'm not sending a heart out there so you can get mauled to death by Dan Quayle of all people. We're just gonna keep pushing forward on the campaign trail, and people will never know that the debate was ever even planned. Perhaps it's for the best. Obviously, Bush won't let you get away with this cleanly. The fact that he ducked out still stings you hard, but no debate is better than a lost one, I suppose. We just need to lose DC. And it would have been funny, actually. But if we accidentally hit the RNG code that got us improved odds, yeah, going to Texas. Recently, Bush is accused of being opportunistic with courting black voters due to the fact that he opposed busing back in the 70s. What would you like to say in response to these claims? If we keep our mouth shut on this, it's not going to end up swaying the average black voter. If you have a problem figuring out whether your vote is for me or for Bush,
then you ain't black.
Your silence on the matter is giving Bush more time to attack you, and this gaffe has caused your poll numbers, to take a huge blow. But we're still winning in D.C. Fuck. More so in the campaign, there's been a storm of talk about the abortion issue. Abortion to be federally funded. Senator Biden, what do you think? It depends on where the money goes and all that jazz. We'll do a full review of the funding for this when we get into office. Didn't really make a solid stance. You managed to lose nor gain any voters. Isn't a big chunk of DC black? How not cause them to tell us to go fuck ourselves? I don't know. Since the late 70s, what would a Biden administration do to these farmers? The economics here wouldn't have really changed even if we had intervened. Why the hell would you say this? You're not a Republican, Joe. You've just lost support in literally every state in the plain. Oh, Jesus, we have. We have a little orb of blue in the middle of a tsunami of red. How will you respond? Let's just pound Bush on Iran-Contra. Perhaps bringing Bush down with you was a good idea. Fuck! That was a good idea. I didn't want that. Okay, let's try to make up in the plains while we can. North Dakota. Let's go. So gun controls. America, we need to focus on stopping guns from being bought and sold by criminals. It's a shocking rebuke of Democratic mainstream, and while party leaders are upset, conservatives are surprised. Fucking Twitch ads, man. How will you attack his involvement in the Iran-Contra scandal? I think the Iran-Contra deal was based, to be honest. I've always hated Nicaragua. Walter Mondale sent you a nice package. Must be a good luck charm for election. Let's see what. We're still winning in D.C. We've reached the final presidential debate, and here's a final question. Senator Biden, if Jill Biden were raped and murdered, would you support the death penalty for the person who did it? It's kind of an answer I would give if I want to run a meat. Do we... Okay. Do we say no, or do we say that we're going to eliminate crime within our first year? What's the memeier answer? What's going to tank our campaign harder? That's a... Yeah. You know, we're far too soft on these criminals who go around and commit senseless violence, only get at most a year. My first wife died because of drunk driving. The man who killed her and my daughter deserved nothing but hell. As president, I would eliminate crime within my first year. What does DC like? Do the opposite of that. Yes, sir, President Ironheart. They're liberal on... Yeah, so that was the best. What does DC like? Do the opposite of that. Let's see what we did. Despite all the heated back and forth of debate, neither of you seem to come out with command and win to be proud of. He also hit you hard for the heart situation, which you struggled to defend against. We're going to drop below 50% soon. Election is drawing near. As you campaign through California, you feel a headache come on. No, this isn't a headache. You all remember all too well that this is shit. How will you show the people you can still lead? Let's get Gary out there to show that they can lead even if I was unable to. Despite everything, I believe in Gary. He's weathered so many arrows. What's a few more? Just send Gary Hart out there. Gary gets to work, and while he's able to rally many more Democrats in final days, it isn't as strong as you hope. Fuck, that improved our odds in DC. What the shit? Okay, Texas. Okay, let's go to Texas. Let's see if the scam plays off. Instantly calling Indiana and Kentucky. 4% in. 6. 8. 10. You know, it's not looking good. But this is how Biden can still win, guys, okay? We just have to win literally every other state from here on out. Ooh. This rally was brought to you by Red Eagle Politics. This is what Tim Pool was talking about when he said that Trump was going to win in a 49-state landslide. How terrible. Many people had hoped that after the nightmare of 1980, 1984, you could at least do better than Carter and Mondale. But yet again, Ronald Reagan's GOP has completely whooped the Democratic Party. We're seen by Biden far the strongest Democrat to go up for this election, and yet it all went badly. Imagine what would happen to someone like Mike Dukakis. You've almost resigned from the Senate after it last night, for all intents and purposes, at least to you. Your political career is practically over. George McGovern, Jimmy Carter, and Walter Mondale all welcome you with open arms into the loser's corner. Perhaps in the future, someone will think of a world where Joe Biden was president. All of our closest states: Massachusetts, DC, still somehow coming in strong. Although the Green Party got 5%. Yeah. Well, you win some, you lose some. That's the lesson I'm taking away from this episode. Fun mod. I do appreciate a lot. And if you guys also appreciate this and you like seeing me play, go ahead and hit the sub button. I mainly do new campaign trail for Saturday uploads. I'm mainly a Paradox YouTuber, but if you want to check that out, go for it. DC loves cheating on your wife and killing Nicaraguans, apparently. So yeah. If you like, if not, feel free to dislike. If you have any comments, feedback, suggestions on mods to play in the future, leave them in the comment section below. I read all of them. Appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. I already told you guys to sub. Check out my various links down in the description box below. My Twitch, where I film this live. A bunch of other stuff as well. And yeah, that's it for now, my friends. I thank you for watching. My name has been Mr. Dogboat333. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.